So, as we see that by 1830s, 1840s, many of the Eastern European Christian majority areas, they started declaring independence from the Ottoman Empire, seeing the decline of Ottoman Empire. Now, Tsar Nicholas I, he started encroaching in the Danubian territories. Okay, Danubian territories are the areas near the Danube River. Now, seeing this, the great powers called for Paris Peace Conference of 1856. Okay, now this Paris Peace Conference, here Sultan promised that the equal status to Christians would be given. But before discussing further whether he kept his promise, let me tell that the Crimean War of 1854-56 is very relatable to the USA revolt for independence, and in India there was revolt again for independence. Okay, so revolt for independence in USA, revolt for independence in India from the British, and the revolt and the struggle for get independence from the Ottoman Empire. Okay, so after Crimean War, there was a Paris Peace Conference in 1856. The Sultan did not fulfill his promise of giving equal status to the Christian subjects. Moreover, there was famine. Now, the Eastern Europe became the victim of famine, increasing the tension in Eastern Europe. Seeing this, 21 years post to the Paris Peace Conference, Bulgaria attacked the Ottoman Empire. Now, the Ottoman Empire was defeated very badly. Now, one of the reasons was because the Bulgaria was supported by the Russia. And hence, in 1878, just an year after, and around 20 to 22 years after Paris Peace Conference, San Stefano Treaty was signed between Turkey and Russia. It was a peace treaty where Turkey, or you can say Ottoman Empire, first time accepted the independence of Montenegro, Serbia, and Romania. Okay, because earlier they had declared independence from Ottoman Empire, but Ottoman Empire did not accept their independence. Okay, now moreover, the protectorate of Bulgaria became the Russia. The Bosnia and Herzegovina autonomy, it was given autonomy, but it was supervised jointly by the Russia and the Austria-Hungarian Empire. Now, the Russian dreams of dominating the Black Sea and the Eastern Europe came true, and the Black Sea became heavily influenced by the Russia now. But the great powers were not, silent. The great powers like the Britain challenged Russia. It was the Benjamin Disraeli, the Prime Minister of Britain, who immediately, threatened Russia to face war in case it doesn't amend the San Stefano Agreement. If we see the period of 1876 to 1880, okay, Lytton was the Viceroy in India. And you might find that 1876 to 1880 was the period of Second Anglo-Afghan War. Okay? So that's the case. Next. Now, seeing the rivalry growing, the Bismarck became the peacemaker. And for the first time, 1878, Berlin Congress was organized. Earlier, the Congress was organized in Paris, London, were not. So this shows the Berlin's increasing political importance. Again, if we compare the San Stefano Agreement and the Berlin Agreement, or Berlin Treaty, San Stefano Agreement was renegotiated Okay, first, the freedom of Serbia, Montenegro, and Romania was accepted by the Congress of Berlin, but the Bulgaria's the protectorate was changed from Russia to Ottoman Empire, and it was partitioned into three parts. Today's Macedonia was one of the parts of Greater Bulgaria. Moreover, Bosnia and Herzegovina, the autonomy earlier was supervised jointly by the Russian and Austrian-Hungarian, but now it was given only for the Austrian control. You see, the Bosnia and Herzegovina is like the Jammu and Kashmir. The Jammu and Kashmir has Muslim majority, the Bosnia and Herzegovina are the Slavic majority. The Jammu and Kashmir is controlled by a Hindu majority country, India. The Bosnia and Herzegovina is controlled by a non-Slavic country, Austria. Jammu Kashmir is aspired by Pakistan. Bosnia and Herzegovina's control is aspired by Serbia, another Slav-dominated country. So, moreover, after this, the Black Sea, the Bismarck tried to neutralize by giving Cyprus an important geostrategic location to Britain, and the Black Sea was termed as a neutral zone. Russia had to back off because all the major powers like the Italy, the Britain, the France, the Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire, all are on one side. Russia was isolated. Moreover, Russia was disappointed because of the entries of two new powers, the Germany and Austria. And this disappointment was for a few years. The Berlin Congress was successful in maintaining the peace for next 40 years. Okay, but the rivalry between the Serbia and Austria in order to control the Bosnia and Herzegovina grew fiercer day by day. But Russia didn't fight directly with all these powers. Russia opted for an indirect path, that is the path of Pan-Slavism. Okay, and this Pan-Slavism was by Serbia to create a greater Serbia encompassing all the Slav-dominated areas. Okay. So 1978 was the culmination of the Berlin Congress. Just 40 years post, Young Turk movement started in Turkey, where it was a movement by military forces and youths demanding two things: political reforms and cultural reforms. Political reforms, they demanded constitution and parliament. In cultural reforms, they demanded Turkish culture and language in all of the Ottoman Empire. Now, this was directly a cultural clash because Montenegro, Greece, Serbia and Bulgaria, they didn't speak the Turk language, and hence they formed the Balkan League in 1911. Okay? Now, this Balkan League and Young Turk movements clash. This became the ground for the war.
In the 19th century, the Ottomans faced numerous nationalist movements. In the Balkans, the Greeks were the first to gain their independence in 1832. Over the following decades, Romania, Serbia and Montenegro were granted full independence, the Bulgarians were rewarded with their own principality, and the Austro-Hungarians occupied Bosnia. Wars between Bulgaria and Serbia and the Ottomans in Greece encouraged the nations to strengthen their armies. Yet, the nationalist rebellions within the Ottoman Empire continued. Then, in 1908, the Young Turk Revolution restored the constitution to the Ottoman Empire. However, the resulting chaos allowed the Bulgarians to finally proclaim their full independence and, under Tsar Ferdinand, develop a large army. The Austrians also fully annexed Bosnia, putting an end to the Serbian hopes of expanding north. Then Albanian uprisings threatened Serbian expansion south. These Albanian uprisings corresponded with the Italian invasion of Libya in 1911, a war which demonstrated that the great powers had no intention to preserve the Ottoman Empire and showed the Ottomans were weak. Now the Balkan nations saw they could win and take over the Ottoman territories they desired. So the Serbians signed an alliance with the Bulgarians, promising them southern Macedonia after the war. Greece, fearing they'd be left out of the territorial gains, soon made alliances in mid-1912. And finally Montenegro, just a minor power, entered into these alliances and the Balkan League was formed. The nations began to mobilize and Montenegro declared war on the Ottomans in early October 1912. They were joined by their allies on the 17th of October, just before the Italians made peace with the Ottomans. The Greek strong navy prevented Ottoman reinforcements from arriving in Europe, and this allowed the Balkan allies to make quick gains. In just over a month, the Bulgarians had advanced south to the Aegean Sea and also lay siege to Adrianople. The Serbians pushed south into Albania, Montenegrins expanded west, and the Greeks moved north and took Salonika. Also, in late November, the Albanians in Vlora declared their independence. The Bulgarians tried to take Constantinople, however their assault was repulsed, so, along with Serbia and Montenegro, they signed an armistice with the Turks in early December and peace talks began. However, Adrianople remained under siege and the Greeks continued fighting in northern Epirus. Meanwhile, in Constantinople, the Committee of Union and Progress, led by Enver Pasha, feared Adrianople would be given to Bulgaria, so staged a coup in January 1913, and this brought Bulgaria, Serbia and Montenegro back into the conflict. The Bulgarians fought off an Ottoman counterattack, and then in March, Ioannina fell to the Greeks and the Bulgarians took Adrianople. The Ottomans were finally forced to make peace at the Conference of London, which was overseen by the great powers. The Turks' European territory was divided, but a lot of disputes emerged. Firstly, Albania was granted independence, but they didn't receive as much land as they hoped for. Also, Albanian independence angered the Serbians, who had occupied their lands. So the Serbians, seeing they would achieve very little otherwise, withdrew from their previous agreements with the Bulgarians and continued to occupy southern Macedonia. So knowing how Bulgaria would react, Serbia signed a defensive alliance with the Greeks. Also, the Romanians feared the growing Bulgarian threat, so claimed the town of Silistria, and the great powers granted it to them. So now, facing encirclement and the loss of territory, Bulgaria invaded southern Serbia in June 1913, with the hopes of occupying as much land as they could before the great powers, particularly Russia, could interfere. Serbian victories prevented the Bulgarians from pushing further into Serbia, while the Greeks crossed into Bulgaria from the south. Then, on the 10th of July, the Romanians entered into the war, citing their concerns over Bulgaria's ambitions. They marched across the Danube and captured Varna, meeting very little resistance. This convinced the Ottomans, who hoped to reclaim their lost provinces, to enter the war as well. Now the Bulgarians were surrounded and the situation became untenable. They were driven out of Serbia, and then all four nations began pushing into Bulgaria. With Sofia threatened, the Bulgarians sued for peace. Romania took southern Dobruja, Greece expanded to the Nestos River, Serbia cemented its control over Vardar Macedonia, and the Ottomans retook Adrianople. The wars emboldened the Serbians, and this worried the Austrians. It also strained Austro-Russian relations, and the tensions would boil over when Gavrilo Princip shot Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914, beginning World War I. Plus, the wars also guaranteed that during the First World War, Bulgaria would join the Central Powers in the fight against Serbia and Russia.
With the formation of Balkan League in 1911, in 1912 and 13 started the First Balkan War. Now, since the Christian subjects underwent no reforms, right, and Serbia was against the Austrian-Hungarian occupation of Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1908, Montenegro attacked Turkey in the present-day Albanian region, and others followed soon in the same year. Now, Turkey was heavily defeated and it lost all the European claims, particularly the Eastern European claims by Turkey. Now, Britain and France left Turkey because Turkey was financially very weak. Moreover, Britain had now understood that the reunification of Turkey is of less chance, and hence Britain started cultivating and helping Greece and Bulgaria in order to counter the Russia's influence. Okay. Moreover, Britain, France, and Russia they formed Triple Entente in 1907 owing to the growing naval might of Germany. So all this war of 1912 and 13 ended up with the London Agreement, where the Eastern European was made to independent. Now in London Agreement, this was the map which was agreed upon. Now the Albania was a mate, the Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Serbia, Macedonia, Montenegro, Macedonia. Okay. Now the Serbia and the Bulgaria, they had agreement that the Bulgaria would be given Macedonia if once they defeat the Ottoman, but the Serbia said that their forces advances would be kept as it is, and hence Bulgaria felt deceived. The Bulgaria attacked its own allies in post the London Agreement, but Bulgaria was heavily defeated because it was attacked by all the sides. Romania, Serbia, Greeks and the Ottoman Empire attacked all, and Bulgaria lost all of its territories. This war was in 1914. Now this war was the pretext of the First World War. We'll see how.